Hey there, I'm Michael. Though most folks around here just call me Chief. I work as a broadcast engineer at WBDK, a CBS affiliate right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I've earned myself a fancy graduate degree from MIT in electrical engineering and computer science, along with another in broadcast technologies. With 22 years of experience under my belt, I've navigated some pretty challenging roles, and for the past 5 years, I've called Atlanta my work home. Before landing here, I bounced around various TV stations along the East Coast, gaining a lot of experience along the way. I'm 46 years old, standing tall at 63, and weighing in around 190 pounds. Folks say I'm good-looking, but let's be real. I'm no TV star. I've been married to Anna for 22 years. At least that's what I thought. Together, we have 2 daughters, Rachel, who's married, and Sophie, who's just about to graduate from college. Anna, on the other hand, stands about 55, weighs around 135 pounds, and has long blonde hair. She's always played the role of the sweet, devoted wife, or so I believed. These days, she's working as a secretary for our pastor, Reverend Samuel Brooks, a job she's had for the past year and a half. Last Friday, I decided to surprise Anna by taking her out to lunch. It was raining, so I parked near the side entrance of the church office, thinking I'd get closer to the door. When I arrived, her office was empty, but I went in anyway, figuring she'd be back soon. As I waited, I overheard her voice coming from Pastor Samuel's office. She was excitedly talking about Monday night and how convenient it was that I worked the Monday night football games, giving them time together. Then, she asked about some hotel reservation. Samuel reassured her that everything was set, saying, "I knew I had to get out of there before I did something I'd regret. I couldn't bear to listen any longer. A part of me wanted to kick down that door and confront them both right then and there. But I hesitated, knowing that if I did, I might lose control and get physical. I didn't want to deal with the aftermath of whatever might happen if I snapped, so I forced myself to leave. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Every fiber of my being wanted to explode, but instead I walked away. I'm pretty sure they didn't see me, nor did they know I was there. The church has security cameras at the main entrances, but I used the side door and managed to stay off the radar. I was so shaken up that I knew I couldn't focus on work for the rest of the day. I called in sick and headed home to sort through the mess in my head. Anna wouldn't be back until after 4 p.m., so I had plenty of time to process what I'd just uncovered. It was painfully clear. Anna was cheating on me with Pastor Samuel. There was no way I could keep seeing him as my pastor after this. I needed to uncover the full extent of their affair, how long it had been going on, and what led to it. Some people might prefer to remain in the dark, but not me. I needed to know every detail. I had to understand how something like this could happen in what I believed was a solid marriage. Clearly, Anna didn't see it that way. She wasn't the sweet, loyal person I thought she was, and I was determined to uncover the truth. I wasn't going to let this slide. I was resolved to dig deep and make sure they both faced the consequences. When I got home, I brewed a pot of coffee and sat out on the patio, hoping the fresh air would clear my head. I needed to make sense of everything that had just gone down. I won't lie, I shed some tears that afternoon. I know I don't own Anna or her body, but the thought of her being with another man, especially after she vowed to be mine on our wedding day, cut me deep. Some folks might not take those vows seriously, but I did, and I thought she did too. Times like this make you question everything. Your values, your beliefs, whether you were naive to trust in love and faithfulness. The most painful part of being cheated on isn't just the physical betrayal, it's the loss of trust. It's like realizing that the one person who was supposed to have your back was actually stabbing you in it. You thought you were safe with them, but now you feel exposed and scared. Despite my size, I felt vulnerable, afraid even. A cheating spouse can really mess with your head. As I sat there trying to stay calm and logical, I started connecting the dots. There were things I'd questioned in the past, but dismissed because I trusted Anna. Small things that seemed insignificant at the time now felt like a heavy weight in my gut. How could I have been so blind? It all came down to trust that had been shattered. I needed cold, hard facts. I wanted to know why this happened, how long it had been going on, where they did it, and if anyone else was involved. That trust was gone, and I was determined to get to the bottom of this. By 3 p.m., I knew I couldn't face Anna just yet. I didn't trust myself to hide my feelings. So I decided to leave the house before she got back. I drove into town, swung by the station to grab a few things for the next couple of days, and asked my boss for some time off, citing personal issues. He agreed, so I headed over to my buddy Daniel's place to hang out. Around 5 p.m., I called Anna to let her know I wouldn't be home for dinner. She sounded irritated, mentioning that she was feeling particularly affectionate tonight and that I would have been in for a treat. But my plans were already set, so I told her to stay in the mood for me and that I'd make it worth her while when I got back. She snapped, "Don't count on it, mister. If you think you can treat me like that, you won't be getting anything for a while." Inwardly, I thought to myself that this was exactly what I wanted. I stumbled home around 10:30 p.m., sigh feeling a bit tipsy, but not too drunk to notice that the bedroom door was shut and locked. I grinned at the sight and knocked, half hoping she was awake, though I doubted it. I yelled, "Fine, if this is how you want to play it, then don't expect any affection from me. Just deal with it." With that, I headed to the spare bedroom. The next morning, I got up and found her sitting at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee. Her mood darkened even more when I walked in. If I hadn't already known she was a cheating wife, the tension in the air would have tipped me off that something was definitely wrong. I forced a smile and said, "No need to worry about breakfast, honey. I'll grab something on my way to the golf course." With that, I headed to the garage, loaded my golf clubs into the trunk, and drove off. It wasn't long before my phone rang, and sure enough, it was her calling. I ignored it. A few minutes later, a voicemail notification popped up. When I listened, her angry voice demanded to know how I could do this to her and insisted I come back immediately. The truth was, golfing was just a cover. I had no intention of hitting the greens that morning. Instead, I needed some time to handle what had to be done. My real destination was the church, my former church. The last thing I wanted was to sit through another one of Samuel's sermons after what I knew. It was still early when I got there, and as expected, the place was empty. Using the key Anna had for work, I let myself in. My mission was clear: plant some remote micro cameras and mini microphones in both her office and Samuel's. It didn't take long to set everything up. I hid the transmitter behind some dusty hymnals in the supply closet across the hall. The receiver was already in my trunk, wired into my car's electrical system, allowing me to monitor their conversations whenever they were in their offices. While I didn't expect them to get too cozy at the church, I was confident that a few days of surveillance would yield something useful. After confirming that everything was working as planned, I rummaged through Anna's desk, but nothing jumped out at me. What did catch my eye, though, was a large asterisk on her calendar for Monday, just as I had overheard on Friday. I made a mental note to be ready for whatever went down that day. Next, I moved on to Samuel's office. I didn't find anything incriminating at first, and just as I was about to give up, an idea hit me. It was almost ironic given the setting, but I decided to check the filing cabinets for church expense receipts. Sure enough, I stumbled upon a file containing several receipts from a hotel in Roswell. Some dated back to late 2019, and a few were from the spring of 2020. I knew I was pushing my luck by staying too long, so I quickly made copies of the receipts and put everything back in place. My next stop was the golf course. I parked in my usual spot and headed to the clubhouse bar, making sure a few people saw me there. I found a table in the back, ordered a Sprite, and spent the next couple of hours there, carefully examining the receipts. The two from late 2019 were both for Mondays, and the ones from spring 2020 lined up with dates when I was attending conferences at CBS headquarters in New York. What enraged me most was the fact that Samuel had the gall to charge those motel rooms to the church, disguising them as conference room rentals. He was using church funds to shack up with my wife, and I had unknowingly footed the bill while donating to the church. That ended now. No more donations from me. Their reckoning was coming, and I just needed a bit more evidence to seal their fate. I was certain this affair had been going on for nearly a year, if not longer, which matched the uneasy feelings I'd had for a while now. My gut told me that Samuel had been involved with her even before she started working for him. Anna had a decent job as a receptionist at Telfer Corporation, but she jumped at the chance to work for the church. Honey, it's so close to home, and I'll be working for the church. What could be better than that? Plus, the pay is almost as good as what I was making at Telfer. How can I pass this up? Shed said. On the surface, it sounded great. Closer to home, a job at the church, and nearly the same pay. But it was clear now that she was more interested in the perks that came with it. I couldn't believe how blind I'd been. It made me angry, but it also sickened me to think that the woman I loved could betray me like this. I was determined to make them pay. Deciding it was time for more investigating, I headed to my car and connected my iPod to the receiver frequency. After scrolling through a few minutes of data, I caught Samuel entering his office. He picked up the phone and made a call. I regretted not having bugged his phone, but I had to settle for hearing his side of the conversation. "Yes, Anna, I'm at the church. I came right after you called me." "Why don't you tell me what's bothering you?" he said. "Has he ever done this before?" "I see. What do you think set him off then?" he continued. "Do you think he's suspicious of anything, Anna?" And then, with a laugh, "All right, well, you can get back at him on Monday night." After he hung up, I was just about to shut down the transmission when he mumbled something under his breath, something almost inaudible, but I caught it. I made sure to save that soundbite, knowing it could be important later. After shutting everything down, I headed back home. The air was chilly, so I decided to mow the lawn and tackle some basement chores to keep my mind occupied. When I walked into the house, the tension was thick, though she barely acknowledged me. At dinner, I kept to myself, ignoring her while she stared at me, clearly trying to break the silence. Eventually, she asked what had been bothering me and why I was acting so strangely. I reminded her that she had locked me out of our bedroom the previous night, and that I rarely went out with friends. I pointed out that the one time I did, she got upset and made threats. This situation was her doing, not mine. Frustrated, she spat out an expletive, far from what you'd expect from a so-called devout Christian. Her reaction was full of guilt, something she tried to hide but couldn't. After a moment, she regained her composure and left the table. I thought to myself, when the truth finally came out, she wouldn't be able to handle it. Later that evening, she came into the family room where I was watching TV, her eyes slightly red, as if she had been crying. The rest of the evening was uneventful. When I was ready for bed, I walked down the hallway to the spare bedroom and settled in. A few minutes passed, and there she was, standing in the doorway, eyes puffy from crying. Without turning to look at her, I asked, "What do you need?" Her voice was hesitant, almost pleading. "Aren't you coming to bed?" I didn't even pause to consider. "Nope," I said, my voice flat. "You've made it pretty clear that intimacy is off the table for a while, so I might as well enjoy a solid night's sleep in here by myself." She turned and left, tears streaming down her face, but I found it hard to muster any sympathy. Sunday morning, she shook me awake at 8 a.m., already dressed for church. She invited me to join her, but I wasn't interested. I told her I had no plans of going. She walked out with a look that made it clear she was starting to understand just how deep the rift between us was. Later that day, she left for church without another word, and the rest of the day was spent in near silence, with each of us retreating to different parts of the house. When Monday rolled around, I left the house before she even got up. She called me later, her voice thick with emotion, apologizing and professing her love. I told her we'd talk that evening, but I wasn't in the mood for any more of her empty words. After that, I called my boss to let him know I'd be taking the day off, but assured him I'd still cover the Monday night football game. He didn't ask for details, just told me to take care of things. Instead of heading to the station, I drove to the hotel in Roswell. I walked into the lobby, doing my best to blend in as just another maintenance guy on the job. The clerk, a young kid who seemed more interested in his phone than his actual job, barely glanced at me. Clipboard in hand, I approached him with a confident air. "Got a service call for the Whirlpool suite," I said, tapping on the fake work order about a noisy AC unit. "You know how these things go when it's this hot out." The clerk squinted at the clipboard for a second, but I kept my expression neutral. "Which room?" he finally asked, sounding more confused than suspicious. I gave him the suite number, and for a moment, I thought he might question it. But instead, he just shrugged, handed me the key card, and said, "Make it quick." I headed to the room, quickly setting down my tool bag. But instead of pulling out any maintenance tools, I took out the real equipment, tiny, high-tech cameras and microphones. I wasn't there to fix anything. I was there to catch my wife red-handed. I hid the devices so well that even the most thorough inspection wouldn't have uncovered them. Within minutes, I was back out of the room, giving a quick nod to the clerk on my way out. All set, no more noise from that AC, I told him, and he barely looked up from his phone. I walked out feeling like I'd just pulled off a perfect spy operation. The kid had no clue what was really going on. With a few hours to kill, I decided to take care of some other business. I headed to our bank and withdrew half of the money from our checking and savings accounts, converting it into cashier's checks. Then I canceled our joint credit cards. Next, I called my broker to arrange a meeting about adjusting our investment accounts. After that, I got in touch with my attorney to discuss the divorce and other legal steps, scheduling an appointment for later that afternoon. I drove over to Planters National Bank in Marietta and opened new accounts in my name only, depositing the cashier's checks there. I grabbed a quick lunch in Marietta, but my appetite was non-existent. After lunch, I met with my broker, who helped me reallocate our investment portfolio to make sure things were divided evenly without triggering any tax issues. I walked away with all the necessary paperwork. Then, I met with my attorney to go over the divorce papers. I proposed a no-fault divorce with an equal split of assets if Anna agreed to sign immediately. If she refused, I had him include a clause for filing based on adultery. I was betting she'd take the deal to avoid the embarrassment of a public scandal. By the time I left my attorney's office, everything was set. All that was left to do was grab some dinner and head to the station for the Monday Night Football broadcast. As I drove, I turned on my phone to find several messages from Anna. She was in a panic, pleading for me to come home before the game. She claimed she still loved me, that seeing me like this was tearing her apart. It made me wonder how I could have been so blind, so stupid to trust her. But despite her words, I knew what she was planning. Her actions tonight would tell me everything I needed to know about the future of our marriage. At 8 p.m., I switched the broadcast system into fully automated mode as Monday Night Football kicked off. I set up the system to monitor the feed from the motel room. By 8:15, Samuel had already arrived and was making a call. "Hey baby, I'm here. Come over as soon as you can," he said. On the other end, I heard Anna's voice respond, "Okay, honey, I'll be there in a few minutes." After he hung up, I caught a few mumbled words from him, but I'd need to replay them later to fully understand. My marriage was crumbling before my eyes, and while I doubted Anna would end it, the pain of her betrayal was nearly unbearable. But each new revelation only hardened my resolve to make them pay. I spent the next half hour making a few strategic phone calls. By the time I finished, Anna had arrived at the motel. I tuned back into the video and audio feed just in time to hear her say, "Oh God, Samuel B., being with you excites me so much. I really treasure these nights together." Samuel B. invited her closer, whispering, "Tonight, darling, I'll fulfill all your desires." She responded eagerly, "I love it when you talk like that, Samuel B." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Here was the woman I had loved for over 2 decades, reduced to this, a sick parody of what our relationship once was. The sight of them together, of her willingly engaging in this twisted affair, was almost too much to bear. As she lay down on the bed, I could hardly stand to watch what unfolded next. The woman I once cherished had become a stranger, lost in a web of deceit and betrayal. When Samuel finally finished, I knew with a painful clarity that our future was destroyed. But even in the midst of all that agony, my anger kept me focused. I had a mission now, and I wasn't going to stop until they faced the consequences of their actions. After 45 minutes of enduring their vile display, I'd had enough. It was halftime in the game, and it was time for the halftime show. I switched the system to live assist mode and hit play on the recording of Samuel and Anna, letting it broadcast for everyone to hear. Within minutes, the phone lines lit up, ringing off the hook. I ignored every call and instead pulled out my cell phone. I dialed Anna's number, and the ringing echoed through the monitors I had set up. She glanced at her phone and scoffed, "It's Chief. I'm not answering this time. Let's see how he likes it." I let it ring out and then dialed her again. She hesitated before saying, "I guess I should answer it," and reached for her phone. When she answered, her voice dripped with venom. "Hello," she spat out, as if daring me to question her. I kept my tone calm but direct, asking her where she was and what she was up to. She tried to brush me off, claiming she had gone shopping since I hadn't called earlier and was planning to grab some food before heading home. In a tone thick with sarcasm, I asked if she was still out shopping, and she confirmed, saying she planned to spend a lot of money. Unable to keep my frustration in check, I sarcastically thanked her for being such a fantastic wife. She snapped back, telling me not to speak to her that way and demanding to know what was wrong with me. Then she hung up, her attitude as toxic as ever. But the real issue wasn't my behavior. It was the fact that she was sitting in a motel room with Samuel, carrying on with her affair. As their little rendezvous began to wind down, I contemplated interrupting it, knowing full well she wouldn't pick up her phone again. So I took a different approach and called the motel directly. "Mark, it's Chief. You watching Monday Night Football? No? You should be. Could you do me a favor and ring the Whirlpool suite for me?" After just 2 rings, Samuel picked up. "Hi, Samuel. Can I speak to Anna?" I said casually. She came on the line, her voice laced with irritation as she asked why I was calling. "Well, Anna," I began, "it's like this. I know you've been cheating, and I'm fully aware of where you are and what you're doing. I'm filing for divorce and soon you won't have a place to stay. Samuel might want to consider what this means for him too." She sounded bewildered, asking, "What are you talking about, Chief? I don't understand why you're acting this way. What's going on with you?" I kept it simple. "Anna, the game's up. I suggest you turn on Monday Night Football and enjoy the halftime show. Goodbye." I watched through the live monitor as she fumbled with the remote, tuning into the game. Her face turned ghostly pale as she realized what was happening. "Oh my God!" "No," she gasped, watching the broadcast of herself and Samuel. Because of the time delay in the live feed, she only then realized that much of Atlanta had already seen what was unfolding. She kept repeating, "Oh no," as she scrambled to get dressed and flee the room. Samuel was no better, cursing under his breath as he hurried to leave. "I'll kick that son of a bee. I'll kick him," he muttered, unaware that his threats were being recorded. Once they bolted from the room, I turned off the monitors and let the video stream run for another minute before switching off the live assist mode and returning the system to full automation. I collected the tape and left the broadcast booth, knowing this might be my last time there. I grabbed a few personal items from my desk and headed out. That night, I crashed at Daniel's place, and unsurprisingly, my halftime performance was the talk of the bar. After the game, I took a cab home. When I walked in, I found Anna sitting alone in the darkened living room. The phone had been disconnected, and it was clear she'd been crying uncontrollably. But her tears did nothing to move me. To me, it was all over. She sobbed, "How could you do this to me, Chief? After all these years together, how could you?" I responded with cold finality, "No, Anna. The real question is, how could you do this to me? I'm drunk and I'm going to bed. We'll talk tomorrow." She stayed motionless as I left the room and headed to the spare bedroom. I assured her that I had a secure copy and could provide it if necessary. It was clear that everyone I had reached out to had watched the Monday Night Football halftime show and had strong reactions. Some were angry about the explicit nature of it, while others, like Anna's parents, were horrified that I had exposed her in such a public way. But most people understood my side, even if they didn't entirely agree with my methods. Anna stayed on the sofa, crying throughout the morning. Eventually, I took the phone off the hook again and went to make some coffee. When I came back, I handed her a cup along with the divorce papers and the investment documents she needed to sign. "Anna," I said, my voice firm, "I'm filing for divorce after discovering your affair and witnessing what I did last night. It's clear you've been cheating on me for at least a year, probably longer. There's no way I can stay in this marriage." I laid the papers out in front of her. "These are the divorce documents. You'll see him asking for a no-fault divorce and an equal division of our assets. If you sign these now, we can avoid a long, drawn-out battle. But there will be no negotiations. This is as fair as it gets." I continued, "You have until 5 p.m. today to consult with an attorney and confirm that my offer is fair. After that, the deal is off the table, and I'll file for divorce on the grounds of adultery. If that happens, I'll be going after everything: property, assets, and income. This is the best offer you'll get, so think carefully. Contesting this divorce would be a bad idea, considering everyone in Atlanta knows the truth now. This is what you wanted, right? Just like I heard you tell Samuel. Now the whole world knows. Take the deal, Anna." Desperation clung to her voice as she pleaded, "Chief, I love you. I want to save our marriage. Can't we try to work this out?" I kept my tone firm, unwavering. "Maybe you do love me, Anna, but that doesn't change anything. Love isn't enough anymore. Our marriage ended the moment you chose him over me. That decision was made the day you started your affair. Now, I suggest you freshen up and consult with an attorney. Your time is running out." Later that afternoon, she returned with the signed papers. Her expression was a mix of defeat and regret. "My attorney says I should sign these papers, Chief. He agrees that your offer is fair, given the circumstances. He thinks I should take this settlement," she said, her voice trembling. "Chief, can we talk? Please, just listen to me. Maybe we can find a way to forgive each other and save our marriage." I agreed to sit down with her, not because I held any hope for reconciliation, but because I genuinely wanted to understand why she did what she did. I needed to know if this was the first time she had betrayed me. We sat at the kitchen table, the space that once symbolized our shared life now feeling like a battlefield. She began to spill her secrets, confessing that there had been no other affairs before this one. It started just before she began working for Samuel. She admitted she didn't fully understand why, claiming she had been happy with me, but something about Samuel drew her in. She talked about his charisma, how he made her feel special and loved. But her explanations, her tearful apologies, felt hollow. It was as if she thought a few tears and a sad face could undo the damage she had caused. It reminded me of a dog who chews up your favorite shoes and then looks at you with those big, sorry eyes, expecting forgiveness. "Sorry, Anna, but life doesn't work that way. A simple apology can't fix the mess you've made." I acknowledged Samuel's charisma but quickly shattered her delusions by playing back 2 sound clips I had saved. The first was Samuel muttering on that first day, "That idiot better make sure her husband doesn't find out about our affair." The second clip was from the motel room just before she arrived. "I'm going to use her tonight. Tomorrow, if she causes any trouble, I'll threaten to tell Chief. That should keep her in line." Samuel's words echoed in the room, the reality of her situation sinking in. "So, not only did you destroy our marriage, but you were also completely wrong about Samuel. He was using you, Anna." I continued, "There are 2 reasons we can't stay married. First, you broke our vows. I can't live with that betrayal. Second, even if I wanted to try, our marriage could never be the same. I could never make you happy after this, and no matter how much love there once was, it's not enough to repair the damage you've caused." She just sat there, tears streaming down her face, knowing that everything I said was true. In the end, she signed both sets of papers. I informed her of my decision to move out and give her time to find a new place to live. I doubted she could afford the house on her own, and honestly, I didn't want to stay there either. The agreement was clear. The house would be sold, and the profits split evenly, just like the rest of our assets. The house held too many memories I needed to leave behind. I gathered the paperwork and the bags I had packed the day before, and I left the house. My first stop was my broker's office to drop off the documents. Then I checked into a hotel for the night. The following morning, I met with my attorney to finalize the divorce papers. He agreed to file them with the Superior Court that day. We also discussed my situation at the radio station and with the FCC. My attorney explained that the FCC had the power to issue civil fines, revoke broadcasting licenses, or deny renewal applications. In federal court, those found guilty of violating these regulations could face criminal fines and up to 2 years in prison. Given the circumstances, he believed jail time was unlikely, but substantial fines and the end of my broadcasting career were almost certain. I would have to find a new line of work. In just a few days, the consequences of my actions hit me hard. I was served with legal notices from the FCC and had to prepare for several days in court to defend myself. The fine imposed on me amounted to nearly a year's worth of salary, wiping out my savings. Worse, my broadcasting license was revoked, and I was barred from working in my field for the next 2 years. But there was a small silver lining. My attorney, who had watched Monday Night Football, showed me a surprising amount of compassion, despite the illegality of my actions. He offered me a job with responsibilities that complied with the FCC's restrictions. It seemed he had gone through his own troubles during his recent divorce, particularly dealing with a manipulative ex-wife, which may have softened his stance toward me. In the end, I suppose I had one thing to thank him for. Samuel confronted me once at Daniel's place. He looked like he was ready to throw a punch, but I grabbed his arm tightly. "Listen, Samuel, I don't ever want to hear from you again. Got it?" I said firmly. He grumbled, "Fine by me." I wasn't finished. "Samuel, I've got an audio recording of you making threats against me. If I take it to the police, I could easily get a restraining order and maybe even press assault charges. With the evidence I have, you could end up in prison. Is that what you want? He shook his head, defeated. Good. Then this is the last time we'll ever speak. Samuel isn't a pastor anymore. He lost his job at the church, his denomination revoked his license, and his ordination was nullified. The last I heard, he was working at a city travel agency. His wife divorced him on grounds of adultery and walked away with a hefty settlement. As for me, I'm moving forward with my life. It's not perfect, but I'm finding ways to be happy. I've dated a few women over the past several months, but nothing serious. When the right woman comes along, I'll be ready to marry again. I know it's just a matter of time, and I'm willing to put in the effort to find the right person for me. I still see Anna occasionally. We both attended Sophie's college graduation and Rachel's baby's baptism. I was polite but distant, making it clear that I had no interest in rekindling any form of relationship with her. It's obvious she's not happy. She's emotionally torn up over our breakup and regrets her actions. But it's not her regret that matters. It's the fact that she betrayed me and our marriage. If I were a different man, maybe I could have forgiven her. But my values are firm and there's no room for compromise. She'll have to live the rest of her life knowing she traded our life together for a fleeting affair with Samuel. I was just an ordinary man who loved her deeply, but she threw it all away. She let go of me, and in doing so, she lost her dignity. Everyone who saw that infamous halftime show during Monday Night Football knows what she did. The rumors say she gets a lot of date offers, but to her credit, she's turned them all down. It's not a fulfilling way to live, but I didn't do this to her. She did it to herself. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow for more great content. See you next time.